In a small frontier town, nestled between rolling hills and wide-open skies, lived a skilled weaver known as Lila. She was admired by everyone for the lovely baby blankets she crafted. Each blanket seemed to have a life of its own, woven with vibrant colors and delicate patterns that told stories of warmth and comfort. The townsfolk often gathered in her cozy little shop, where the sweet smell of natural wool filled the air, and laughter mingled with chatter. Lila had inherited her talent from generations of spinners, and her hands seemed to dance as they moved through the fibers. With each twist and turn, she poured her heart into her work, pouring love into every stitch. New parents traveled from near and far to acquire one of Lila's creations, believing that a blanket made by her hands would bring their child good fortune. However, life in this peaceful town was not without its troubles. Whispers of an outlaw band had spread fear among the residents. Tales of their raids caused restless nights, leaving families anxious and on edge. Despite this looming threat, Lila remained resolute, finding solace in her craft. Every time she connected two pieces of fabric together, she reinforced her bond with the community. Little did she know that soon, her skills would be called upon in a way she never imagined. The arrival of a new commission would lead her down a path of bravery, as the shadow of the outlaw loomed ever closer over her beloved town. As whispers of the outlaw band grew louder, the town became gripped by fear. The notorious outlaw, known as Black Jack, was infamous for his swift raids and cunning ways. Stories about him echoed in the streets, painting him as a figure cloaked in shadows. He left behind a distinct mark, a symbol carved onto trees and fences, that resembled a menacing black star. This mark was not just a warning, it became a chilling reminder of the dangers lurking nearby. Over time, the townsfolk transformed their fear into strength. The outlaw's mark took on new meanings, evolving from a symbol of dread to one of protection. Families began to draw the symbol on their doorframes, believing it would ward off Black Jack's gang. They shared tales of brave acts of resistance, where neighbors stood together against the threat, united by their hopes for safety and resilience. Children whispered stories of how the mark had once saved their grandparents from harm and how it connected the community through courage and solidarity. Lila often listened intently as the townspeople spoke, her heart swelling with pride for her neighbors who were not easily broken. Yet, even as the mark became a sign of hope, Black Jack's presence loomed large in the shadows. With each passing day, the need for bravery grew clearer. The town realized that they needed to stand together more than ever, especially with the weaver's upcoming task that could change everything for them all. One chilly evening, as Lila was closing her shop, a weary figure stepped inside. It was Clara, a mother whose loss had cast a shadow over the town. Her eyes were red from nights spent crying over the empty cradle that once held her child. Clara clutched an old, tattered blanket, a blanket that had wrapped her baby in love and warmth before tragedy struck during one of Black Jack's cruel raids. With trembling hands, Clara unfolded the blanket, revealing its intricate designs that told stories of joy now mixed with sorrow. The fabric was frayed, and patches were missing where the child's laughter had once echoed. It was clear this blanket was precious to her, representing not only what was lost but also a lingering hope for the future. "Lila, could you mend it?" Clara's voice broke through the silence, filled with both desperation and faith. "It may seem just a blanket, but it is everything to me." Lila felt a rush of compassion. She understood that this task went beyond simply fixing tears, it was about healing a mother's heart. Nodding solemnly, Lila accepted the commission, promising to restore the blanket to its former beauty, intertwining threads of hope and memories into her work. As she carefully examined the fabric under the warm light of her shop, Lila vowed to weave love back into every stitch, preparing not just a blanket but a symbol of hope for Clara and the entire community facing darkness. As Lila began her work on Clara's mended blanket, the tension in the town intensified. Fear of Black Jack's gang had spread like wildfire, leaving families anxious and uncertain. Realizing they could not simply wait for danger to strike again, a group of determined townsfolk gathered to form a posse. They came together in the community hall, their faces set with resolve and purpose. "The time has come for us to stand up for our home," declared Tom, a sturdy farmer known for his bravery. The others nodded, spurred by a shared sense of responsibility and courage. It was clear that they needed not just to protect themselves but also to support one another in every way possible. Some offered supplies, bolts of fabric, threads dyed in vibrant colors, and tools to aid Lila in her work. Others brought food and warm drinks to keep her energized as she labored late into the night. The townsfolk took turns visiting her shop, each providing encouragement and words of love that infused new life into her efforts. With every visit from the posse, Lila felt the weight of their support alongside the blanket she was mending. Each thread pulled through her fingers symbolized not just Clara's loss but also an entire community united against fear. As they prepared to face Black Jack's threat, Lila understood that she was not alone. She had a band of neighbors standing beside her, ready to protect their cherished town together. With the support of the townsfolk ringing in her heart, Lila knew she needed special fibers to mend Clara's blanket properly. These fibers could be found only in a remote valley, guarded by steep cliffs and dense thickets that many avoided due to rumors of danger. However, driven by her commitment and bravery, Lila set off early one morning, determined to gather what she needed. As she walked along the dirt path leading out of town, Lila felt both excitement and apprehension. The sun shone brightly overhead, illuminating the rugged landscape around her. She carefully navigated through the hills, her heart pounding with every rustling leaf and distant sound. Thoughts of Clara's blanket fueled her steps, reminding her that this journey was about more than just fibers, it was about hope. After several hours of trekking, she reached the valley where vibrant flowers bloomed among lush greenery. Among them grew a rare type of plant whose fibers were renowned for their beauty and strength. As Lila collected the delicate strands, she heard a noise behind her, a snapping twig. Her heart raced, but she shook off fear as she turned to face whatever threatened her. To her relief, it was just a curious deer peeking through the bushes. Laughing at herself for being scared, Lila finished gathering the fibers with renewed energy and determination. With her arms full of materials and a spirit fierce with courage, she began the trek back home, ready to weave love and healing back into Clara's blanket, and into her community's soul. Back in her shop, Lila spread out the fibers she collected, marveling at their vibrant colors and strength. With each thread she began to weave into Clara's blanket, she felt a connection to the stories of the townsfolk who had supported her and the community. Every stitch transformed the fabric into more than just a blanket, it turned it into a tapestry of hope, resilience, and love. As Lila worked, she recalled the voices of her friends and neighbors. The soft blue thread reminded her of Sarah, a young mother who had shared tales of sleepless nights filled with laughter from her children. Each time Lila wove that blue thread, it felt as though she was stitching those joyful memories into the blanket. The warm gold fibers brought back memories of old Mr. Jenkins, who spoke fondly of his late wife and how they would dance together under the stars. Each twist of that golden thread was infused with their love story, echoing their bond through time. Then there were the vibrant reds and greens representing the children's playful spirits as they gathered to help pick flowers for Lila's yarns. With every color she intertwined, Lila thought of how each person faced their fears and stood strong against the threat posed by Black Jack. As the blanket grew thicker under her hands, it became not just Clara's mended piece but also a collective embrace from all who lived in that town, a promise that together, they could face any darkness and find warmth in unity once again. As Lila worked tirelessly on Clara's blanket, the atmosphere in the town grew tense. The posse had been on high alert, and rumors of Black Jack's gang regrouping nearby sent a chill through the air. She could sense the community's anxiety as they prepared to confront the remnants of the Outlaw's band that threatened their peace. One afternoon, while Lila carefully stitched the final threads into the blanket, a sudden commotion erupted outside her shop. The door swung open, and Tom rushed in, his face pale and breathless. "Lila. They've spotted some of Black Jack's gang near the old mill," he warned, urgency dripping from his voice. Lila's heart raced. She knew this was a pivotal moment for her community. Without hesitation, she gathered her tools and stepped outside, ready to support her friends. The townsfolk had formed a line, armed not just with weapons but also with determination etched into their faces. As they approached the mill, shadows flickered in the sunlight, betraying the presence of two men lingering by the old structure. The posse moved quietly, hearts pounding, until they were close enough to hear whispers among the outlaws. Tension crackled in the air like a summer storm as Tom signaled for everyone to hold their ground. With a deep breath, Lila thought of Clara's blanket, of hope and love woven into every stitch, and felt strength surge within her. This was not just about battling outlaws, it was about protecting their home and what they held dear. As the confrontation loomed ahead, she stood tall beside her friends, ready to face whatever darkness awaited them. As the posse stood ready at the old mill, a sense of unity surged among the townsfolk like a warm breeze on a chilly day. Each person shared a common purpose, to protect their homes and loved ones from the threat of Black Jack's gang. They exchanged determined glances, feeling the weight of their fears and hopes intertwining like the threads Lila had woven into Clara's blanket. Tom took charge, rallying everyone with his steady voice. "We've faced challenges before. Together, we are stronger than any outlaw." His words ignited a spark in the crowd, reminding them of their resilience. They were not just individuals standing alone, they were a community bound by shared stories, hardships, and dreams. Lila felt that spirit wrap around her as she joined them, her heart swelling with pride. The memories she had stitched into the blanket echoed in her mind, laughter from children playing, love shared under starlit skies, and acts of kindness passed down through generations. As they positioned themselves in the tall grass, whispers of encouragement spread like wildfire among them. Neighbors clasped hands, while others adjusted their grips on makeshift weapons, eyes focused on the shadows ahead. They were no longer just people living in fear, they were guardians of their cherished town. When movement stirred among the trees, they stood firm together, ready to face whatever emerged. In that moment of tension and anticipation, the townspeople understood that their greatest strength lay not only in their willingness to fight but in their unbreakable bond, a connection forged by love and hope that would guide them through the looming darkness. With the threat from Black Jack's gang still lingering in their minds, the townsfolk gathered one sunny afternoon for a special ceremony to bless Clara's mended blanket. A sense of anticipation filled the air as families brought their own blankets and handmade items, creating a colorful display of unity and resilience. The community had come together not just to celebrate the restoration of one blanket but to honor their shared strength and hope for a brighter future. Lila stood at the center, holding Clara's blanket with care. It shimmered in the sunlight, its vibrant threads reflecting the stories and love woven into every stitch. As the crowd settled, Tom stepped forward, his voice calm yet powerful. "Today, we bless this blanket as a symbol of our community's spirit and our determination to move forward together." As he spoke, others began to share their thoughts and blessings. Sarah recounted how her children had played beneath the warmth of Lila's blankets, while Mr. Jenkins spoke of the love that wrapped around him and his late wife. Each story added layers of meaning to the fabric, reinforcing their bond as a community. Finally, Clara stood up, tears glistening in her eyes. "This blanket carries not just my memories but all of ours," she said softly. "Let it remind us that even in darkness, we can find light together." With that, the townsfolk joined hands and formed a circle around Clara and Lila. They closed their eyes, offering silent prayers for protection and hope as they blessed the blanket. In that moment, they felt an unbreakable connection, a promise to support one another through whatever lay ahead. As the sun set on the small frontier town, casting a warm golden glow over its streets, the sense of community lingered strong in the air. After the blessing of Clara's mended blanket, Lila and the townsfolk reflected on how their collective experiences had changed them. Once consumed by fear of Black Jack's gang, they had transformed that fear into bonds of love and courage. Throughout the challenges they faced together, each person had discovered their inner strength and deepened their connection to one another. The stories shared during the ceremony reminded them that they were all part of something greater. Each thread woven into Clara's blanket symbolized a story of hope and resilience that intertwined their lives. Lila stood among her neighbors, feeling proud to be part of such a vibrant community. She realized that her craft had enabled her to serve as a catalyst for change. Each blanket she made was not just an item but a message of warmth and protection for families. Clara's blanket became a cherished emblem that encapsulated their shared journey, a reminder that love could flourish even amid darkness. With renewed spirits, they embraced their future together. The shadow of Black Jack still loomed nearby, but it no longer defined them. Instead, they chose to stand united under the promise of friendship and solidarity. As they moved forward, Lila felt confident that as long as they held tight to one another, they could weather any storm. Together, they would create a legacy built on courage and compassion, forever woven into the fabric of their community.